Dragon Divide. The move changed. So 4-3. Oh my good. Oh, this is a huge. Oh, this is a huge nerf for Law. So this used to be like a big sidekick when you did that, and it actually had power armor. Oh, I see now. Oh, I see. So not as big of a nerf as I thought. So, oh, this is interesting. So this is a new move where it can knock the opponent to the ground, and I guess you can have like a guaranteed damage, a follow-up with a nunchuck. Let's see what's a startup. Frames. This looks like it could be a frame advantage on block. I might be looking at this wrong, but let's see. Oh wow! So it forces your opponent to crouch, and it's 0 frames. So that means if your opponent gets up, you could just try to catch your opponent off guard with a low. But I wish this was a slight frame advantage, but it's still, I guess, a useful move. It looks like it can be sidestepped, though. Let's see what happens if I... Let's see. Let's see. Let's see how much effective that is. Yeah, very trackable, though. Yeah. Yeah, very trackable. And punish launch punchable. So that's definitely a move you need to think twice about. But the good news is that even though this move changed, you can still get that side step if you do it off of a DSS. Wait a second. Is this still a power armor? It should be. Let me check. Play. Oops. I can't get hit. Wait a second. That's not an armor move anymore? Oh my goodness, that's a huge nerf for Law. That's no longer a power armor move. Oh my goodness. That's a major nerf right there. That's gonna make... I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I used that move a lot of times, and I used the power armor. This is going to be a huge setback. Wow, I'm going to have to like figure out new strategies now. Holy moly! Wow, 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 wow. So this did change a little bit. This does put the opponent minus 19, so I guess I have a guaranteed low. I might be wrong about that, but let's take a look at another move. Let's see what else is there. Wow, that's a huge nerf for Law. No armor anymore. Let's see. So yeah, they even said, like, the patches said, remove power crush properties. And they nerfed the damage, too. They changed the damage from 30 to 27. Wow, so they did finally nerf this. This got a huge nerf. But on the bright side, though, there was a slight buff, is that I think this is now safe on block. Let's see what happens. Yeah, see, -9. So nowadays, this move is safe, which is good. What do they call this move? I just call it the sidekick. I should probably find a formal definition for this, or formal term. Let's... Ah, here it is. Where are you? Oh shoot, what did I just do? Dragon Cannon. The Dragon Cannon, that's what it's called. Dragon Cannon. So yeah, the Dragon Cannon, it got nerfed. The damage, the usefulness definitely got nerfed, but it is now safer to use. So I guess that balances out, you know. I can tolerate that. I mean, is it the most ideal option? I don't know yet. It's still too early to decide, but it doesn't look... I mean, if it is a bad change, it really won't be that bad. It won't definitely... Like, it for sure, it definitely won't be worth, you know, abandoning Law. I mean, this isn't really, like, super bad. I mean, it's different. It's something I gotta get used to, but I can get used to this. And it's -9, so it is, like, it is safe now. So that's actually really cool. Let's see what else. I think there was another thing about this move that changed about the Dragon Cannon that changed. Let's see. Change the opponent's behavior when performing a heat dash on hit. So let's see what I want to see what happens if I wait a second. So I think there's another way this could have gotten buffed. So it looks like... So another way this move got nerfed is that it pushes the opponent now. Nowadays, if you don't use any Power Crush, or not Power Crush, heat system advantages, it just knocks your opponent away and actually gives your opponent time to recover. They don't even have to do a clean backdash to get away from you. It just gives your opponent time to recover. Now, it is a nerf there, because you still hit your opponent, but your opponent is far away from you, so the opponent can recover and then, you know, rebound. So let's see. I think a way this got buffed though is if you have heat system and you happen to land this move, you can actually get a good combo, because in Season 1 you couldn't do this. You can only get like a nunchuck move to get a little bit extra damage, but now you can do an actual combo. So in a way this got buffed as well. So this could both got buffed and nerfed. This new move, though, let's see, yeah, this move got both buffed and nerfed. But again, like, one of the biggest nerfs is that it's no longer at armor, but in return, it's not punishable anymore either, so it does balance out. But I want to take another look at this new move. Let me see. Hold on, let me take a look at the patch notes. It's a move, it's called Dragon Divide. Let's see. I want to see what it's like on counter. One of the things I'm not a fan of is the fact that key charge is instead of counter hit anymore, which, again, like, I don't hate it, I just don't think it was necessary to make that change. So on counter, it's pretty much the same. That's the same reaction, okay. So again, this may be if your opponent is very good at sidestepping, I would highly recommend not relying on this move, because if you know it's a slow startup and your opponent can easily sidestep, launch punish you. Alright, let's see what else. Let's see what else. How else did Law change? So I think another change. I think this was a. Let's see. This, I guess, was a buff. So the heat. So the heat system. Let me check again. Yeah, if you go into the DSS, you can still use the heat burst here. So if you go into DSS. And your opponent, if you notice your opponent likes to try to interrupt during a DSS, you can try to catch your opponent off guard like this. And it's only a 14 frame startup too, which can definitely get some good damage You can definitely interrupt whatever your opponent's trying to do if your opponent's trying to like use a launch or something like that. So, or if it's on the air, you can get a good combo. So that is a good buff Law got. All right, let's see what else. Let's see how else did Law change. Interesting. So there is an input change or command change. Okay, what is this move? Okay, I think this... Okay, this is a good... I like this move. But you see, how to sidestep, so it was a little hard to access. And, you know, again, sidestepping has never really been my strong suit in Tekken. I've gotten a little better, but I still got a long way to go. So you didn't have to sidestep. You see, you had to sidestep to do that move, but now you just do a nunchuck. Now you just hit down, back, and boom. This move I like. I actually like doing that. I use it a lot more in Tekken 7. I don't know why I kind of slacked off this in Tekken 8. But now it's going to be easier to use, easier to build muscle memory with them. So let's see. Input changes. Change the damage distribution from... so reduce the distance to the opponent on blocks. So that means it could, even though it's easier to use now, it could be punishable. See, another thing about sidestepping is always a double-edged sword is that if you time it wrong, your opponent can use the tracking move to get you. That's the move was a little bit harder to use. And again, like I sidestepping like moves I didn't use as often as I should, like Tekken 8. So, but here you don't have to sidestep, and the damage actually got buffed. The final hit is now like gives like 3 points more damage. So this did get a slight buff. And let's see if this still puts you on DSS. Oh yes, it does. Okay, so not bad, not bad. Okay, let's see. So I'm gonna check. So I want to see what happens though. So it reduces the distance though. Oh wow! Oh my goodness! This might be launch punchable now because you see, this I believe was always this move was always. I need to take a look at the formal term for this, but this move was always like, you know, at like -16, but it would usually push your opponent away, so your opponent would be too far to get a punish, even like with Law's like 14 frame startup, like with the distance it could land, it was still too far for even that to land on you. So in other words, it was safe because it would push your opponent away even though you're at -16, so your opponent couldn't catch up to you on time. The only way you could get punished is if you did it at a wall where there was no distance, then you could get launch punished. But here, this is now a different story because it doesn't push your opponent as far away as it used to. So, hold on. So I'm sorry, I was doing two things at once. Let's see. There. No, wrong move. Oh. What the heck? That's weird. Oh, it's down back, not down up. Well, not back up. What am I doing? It's being silly right now. Intentionally. Dragon Judgment, that's what it's called. Dragon Judgment. Alright. So I'm actually gonna have Law do this. Practice mode. In fact, I probably should have done this earlier. So a cool thing is that you don't have to record the move. If you know which move he's doing. I'll show you what you can do. If you recognize the name of the move, I just have him do this. Usually record it and have him imitate the move. I'll just do this time. Right, let's see. Interesting. Yup, that's punishable now. I can use the 14th frame to punish that. So it's punishable by only certain moves, though. It's actually, I have to say, this move definitely got more buff than nerfed. It did get nerfed just because of the fact that certain moves can punish it. But the reason why I say it was more of a buff is because even now only certain characters can punish it. which is interesting. I think Brian can probably launch that. I don't know if Brian's launch punish can reach that. I might test it later. I might not. But this definitely did. I would say the buffs outweigh the nerfs on that move. So I think I've seen enough of this move. Oh wait, actually, one more thing. I want to see what happens, what the frame advantage is if you go to. So. Okay, so you're at -5 if you go to DSS. Okay. Alright. Let's see what else changed. So this one move is, I believe, easier to do, and let's see. Oh wait, I think this log off buff here. Oops. Wow. Okay. And if you set up a macro for 1-2 simultaneously, you can just switch between these. So this. The damage should got nerfed. Let's see. So this is a. Oh wow, this is a 12-frame startup. All right. So on counter hit, apparently there was no such thing as this in Tekken 7 or Tekken 8. So this move was also, I believe, was hard to do because he had to go like 1-2, 1-2. But now you can just do the macros, I believe. Let me check. Or maybe we could have always done that. I'm not sure. I think you might have always been able to do macros, but now you can just. But now this move, like, one... So, again, I didn't really test this move out enough in Tekken 8 Season 1, so I guess I can't make that proper judgment. But, let's see, input... Change to... Okay. So... Can I get a guaranteed ground hit? Like... I don't think I can. But on counter hit, I want to show you on counter hit, this does lead to a combo, which is really cool because I know for sure there was no such thing as this in Tekken 8 Season 1. So this is kind of annoying to have to set up player counter and then deactivate it instead of just using key charge. So key charge doesn't counter hit anymore. What the heck? I thought this was supposed to be a... Huh. Let's see, I need to read the notes more carefully here. Let's see, change to a natural combo up to the 4th hit when the first hit. I guess it's not a real combo. I thought it would lead to a juggle, but I guess not. What's wrong about that? So I think this is now punishable. I think this got more nerfed. This particular move got more nerfed than buffed. Let's see. Fury Fist Rush, that's what it's called. I'm gonna see what happens on block. Oh yeah, this is now punishable. Brian for sure can launch this. A character like Brian can launch this. Before it used to be safe, so I don't think it's worth using this move because apparently you get a little bit. You don't even get more damage. I think you can just maybe get. Let me check. I'm not even sure if why did they say that this was a buff? What the heck? I never really use this move anyway, so there's definitely no reason to get used to using this move. Yeah, the damage got nerfed too. It says change your natural combo up to the fourth hit when the first hit lands a counter hit. Yeah, it changes the animation to put you on an advantage, but that's like it can put your opponent on the ground, I guess, and you can get a slight advantage, but definitely not worth using a move like this. The bad outweighs the good nowadays, and as I said, I never use this move anyway, so there's definitely no reason to use this move now. The damage is nerfed, and it's now like a 14 frame punish. What's really the point of using that? So it's not even a mind game anymore. It's just free damage if your opponent knows how to punish it. And not to mention the fact that they're all highs. Look, they're all highs. Your opponent could even... I'll show you right here. Your opponent can duck it and get a launch. I'm not going to go to the command. I'm just going to have my opponent perform the move. That's not what I want to do. Alright, cool. Look, see? Does it jail the person? Yeah. But if... See, they're all highs. So if your opponent... See, it can get punished too, so... I think we've done enough of this. Let's see. I'm just saying when I remove counter hit. It's annoying having to do this. Alright. See what the next move is. So this move I like to use. It is a little faster and it does track more, but I think it got nerfed a little bit. It says the notes say it got nerfed. Let's see. I'm going to need to take a look at this more in detail. I'm a little bit confused, if I'm being honest. So this is a move. This was so this is now punishable. This used to be safe on block, but not anymore. So this did get nerfed. All right, let's see. Let's take a look at the formal term for this. Dragon Roar, that's the name. You do it off of a DSS. Dragon Charge Stance. Alright, so let's see. Power version can now be performed with a perfect... Oh, you have to do a perfect input, so... Wait a second. So that was a perfect input. So that's how you know. So that is a huge difference. Let's see. The damage on block has been changed from 9 frame to 11 frames, so it's not punishable. Alright, so let's see. Most behavior when using heat dash has been changed. Aerial combos are no longer possible, and only follow-up attacks on a down opponent are allowed. So this did get nerfed. So this definitely got more nerfed. So a powered up version. I think next thing I'll do is I'll see what the difference between a powered up version, what that would do. But this definitely got some nerfs here. Yeah, so what's interesting is that you see this move and this move have pretty much reversed. See, this move, now in Season 1, you could get, it was safe, and you could get, I was about to say, it was safe and you could get a combo off of the heat system meter. It was activated. But now you can't, you can only get a down combo. You can only like get some extra damage if your opponent's down, like this. What's interesting is this, now you can get an actual combo and it's safe. But in Season 1 it was unsafe and you can only get a extra damage when your opponent was on the ground. You can get a combo off of the heat dash. So this move, so to simplify my explanation, you see this move, the effects of this move and the effects of this move, they basically reverse. But you know what? I think Law overall in the long run has been nerfed overall if you compare these two moves. Because if you notice, this move was a 14-frame startup. And this move is a 20-frame startup. So now the move that gives you a bigger advantage, like that's safer to use and can get you a combo, that it's now at like 20. It's a 20-frame startup. So overall in the long run, these two moves, when they reverse, in the long run, it did give Law a bit of a nerf. Because, again, 6-frame difference. I mean, 6 frames can be a huge difference when it comes to moves in Tekken, obviously. So, but yeah. But on the bright side, though, this particular move, you see, I guess, even though it's more of a nerf for Law, this particular move, it's 11 frames, but still, worst case scenario, if your opponent's fast enough, they'll only get 10-frame punish. So it's not really that serious. Unless you're at a wall, though. If, let's say, I face Jin at the wall, and I do that move, and he does a 10-frame, he does like a 10-frame, I need to take a look. Can he get me on the wall? Let's take a look. Shoot, I play as Jin. I should know this. Alright. Switch to Jin here.
Get ready for the next
but still, I can still get damage. So I guess it's balanced out overall because remember this, not this move. This move was like minus 14. No, minus 13. So it could be a 12 frame. So I would say that Law did get nerfed overall with those two moves, but they balance out. But that being said, is that the 10-frame attack can still, like, depending which character, can still get some good chunk of damage. And this is also, like, 6 frames. About the fact that this is 6 frames slower, I would say overall, like, if I take a look at it and analyze it now that I'm doing that, it's overall nerf. Not a big nerf for Law, but an overall nerf, if that makes sense. Let's see what Jin does. Let me get Jin to do this. This is Jin's 10-frame punish. See, look at that. Alright, now I can show you. So let's say I did this, right? This is Jin's 10-frame punish, and let's say I did that. Oh, shoot. Hold on. See, this is 10 frames, right? 10 frames. But what happens if I get punished here? Whoops! Look! I'm at a wall. I get caught in a wall and I get some good damage. And I'm sorry, I lose. My opponent gets some good damage. So yeah, like 10 frames, like depending which character you're playing against, it can hurt you, especially if you're at a wall. It can be like, almost as much. Okay, I'm probably exaggerating this, but 10 frames, it can still provide some good damage depending which character you're playing. Like Kazuya, has a powerful, move for a 10-frame punish. So And of course, it can put you at a frame disadvantage. So again, this is why I say that Law, it was when you reverse those moves, it nerfs him more than buffs him. Not by much, but in the long run, overall, it nerfs him more because of the fact that his safe move is 20 frames, and its now unsafe move, even though it's only a 10 frame punch, is 14 frames. Considering the fact that they're so far apart and his safe move is slower, I would say in the long run that it did nerf Law, and not to mention the fact that the power armor move was taken away. So that those two reasons, I think, are the reasons why switching those overall nerf Law, even though this still gave him some buffs, if that makes sense. And again, I'm not complaining. This is still, I mean, it's not that serious, but it's just something I know. It's just noticeable. I'm still going to be playing as Law for sure. So let's see how else Law has changed in Season 2. Let's see. Where was I? The parry. I never really did do this parry. Fix an issue where certain moves could not be performed upon transitioning to Dragon Charge. Oh, I see. So it does look like I'm gonna get Jin to throw a punch here. Whoops. I guess I could use this move. So I think this move did get nerfed overall. Let's see. Let's try to get a good parry. Oh man. Let me switch back to Law. I know a better option here to be more consistent with this.
Get ready for the next battle.
Let me get Law to do this. So it looks like. So apparently, I might be wrong. It's hard to judge this. I need two controllers to test this out. I don't know if I'm going to be doing that. But according to the notes, it got like a 90% scaling if you, and then you have to be super good with timing too, still. So I think this got more nerfed than buffed, this parry attack. And you might be able to do more moves, but again, it's scaled, so what's really the point? And not to mention the fact that on a parry, if you time it wrong, there's a chance you can get launched in the air and your opponent can get free damage. So I think this particular move, just the scale. Let me take a look at the notes again to make sure I didn't read this wrong. I'm going to read exactly what the notes say. The patch says, applied a 90% damage scaling to combos following a successful parry. Combo, so, well. Yeah, it does like scale, like if you get some damage, so. See, that's 43 right there. That's 43 damage, that's without the scaling. Look, it's 37, so that is a nerf. That definitely got more nerf than buffed. Just that alone. Look, if you just do that move alone, you may have more options. I haven't been able to see what particular options you have, but none of the options seem to guarantee like a launch combo, at least not that I'm aware of, unless you have the heat dash, which of course you don't always have the opportunity. Let's see. Yeah, why am I? So yeah, but again, remember, you only have heat dash You only have heat dash once, and look, even that. Look how much the scaling got nerfed. That was like 53 points of damage right there. And not to mention the fact when you do this parry, every time you do a parry, you risk, if you time it wrong, you risk, and if you do it when your opponent's not attacking, you risk getting launched in the air, and your opponent gets free damage. So this actually has discouraged me to use this particular move. This move used to be super useful. Even though it was still risky, you could at least take some of the damage. Now that this damage is nerfed, they've weakened the damage, and it's still just as risky. No, thank you. In fact, let me show you. See if I can get my opponent to. See, I'm going to try to get my opponent to parry here. I'm going to show you what happens. All right. So. Oh, why isn't it saying punish? I guess that doesn't count as a punish. It just, it leaves you defenseless. It's not really like a real punish. But if you notice, he is defenseless here. See? Do that. In fact, why don't I get my opponent to it'll be easier to demonstrate if I can just get my opponent to do the launch. So let me wake him up. I goofed. Hold on. See what I mean? If you do that, every time you do the parry, you risk getting launched in the air if you time it wrong. See, and of course you can get a free combo off of that. And not to mention this move. See, this move, you can get some good damage just off of this move. And with Law, against the, another Law player, you can get some damage there. But again, almost everyone has, if not everyone has, like the launch. Has a hop kick that'll get free damage. So just that alone, I don't have to like show this combo. I've already shown that lots of times in other videos. But see, just this alone, leaving yourself vulnerable to a hop kick when you do a parry if you time it wrong, just that alone is risky. Combine with scaled damage, a 90, scaled damage and nerfed damage. As I said, it's not worth doing that move anymore. And I didn't use that move that often in Season 1. I was already like too scared to use that move because, again, like I didn't master it. But now like this decreases my motivation to master that move. Because there's obviously still some benefits. You can still get free damage, but again, it's weakened damage and you risk getting launched in the air. And obviously if you get launched in the air, you can lose a lot of life, especially against good opponents. Who can land good combos. Not to mention if you're in a wall, if you're close to a wall, you can lose like potentially half your life. So, I think I've talked about this a lot. I've talked this to death. So I think I can move on to the next move. So let's see how else did Law change. I'm with opponent attack. See, fiction issue where certain moves cannot be performed upon charge. I just need to track and charge. Oh wait, I'm sorry, I'm reading the same thing. Here it is. Change to recover heat. Oh, interesting. So, hold on. Oh wow, so this is so this particular nunchuck move, this really is a big Buffalo Law. It's interesting. Heat timer consumption on block or whiff from minutes to 42. So this actually increases. So apparently this increases your heat timing. So let's see. Oh, I see. So it's high risk, high reward now. So when you look at your heat meter here, if you notice, look, you lose a lot more heat meter if you miss or if it's blocked with this move. But if you happen to hit it, you recover it. And not to mention the fact you can still get a good combo. Let's see what happens if my opponent blocks it while I'm at heat. See, I'm still safe. But you have to remember, I lose the heat meter at a faster pace. So this boat got both nerf and buff. This is now basically his nunchuck move, called Nunchuck Launcher. Let's see what the name for this is. Tornado Claw, that's what it's called. Tornado Claw. See, this particular move, look at that. Look how much heat meter I lose. But again, if I happen to land, if let's say I catch my opponent matching buttons, or if I land a counter, boom, right there. Or if an opponent lands a super punishable move, you know, that's over like, that's, you know, slower, that 16 frames or slower, boom, right there. Okay, that was probably a poor wording. Should have. Look, see, and look! I actually recovered heat system. That's amazing that I actually can recover heat system either. There's no such thing as that with Law in Tekken 8 Season 1. So that is definitely now a high risk, high reward kind of thing. And then here's something I actually do like about this. I actually, you know, a positive thing I want to say is that this is like really cool because now it encourages you to use your defensive meter wisely, and it also encourages you to use this more carefully. So it kind of encourages you to play defensive, not offensive. You see, the developers said that they were hoping to increase defensive gameplay. This particular thing encourages you to play more defensively. Because if you're over offensive, I'm going to get my opponent blocked. Let's say you're way too reckless with this. Oops, no more meter. So this was actually good. This encourages defensive gameplay. It kind of encourages you to look for an opportunity to land this nunchuck move. So if you catch your opponent like mashing buttons, you can get a combo. Dude, not only can you get a combo, you can increase that heat meter. So that is really cool. That I have to say, I give this a big thumbs up there. Congratulations to the developer for that particular thing with Law. I really like that. Great job there. So I think I've talked enough about this, though. Let's see the other move where Law changed. Let's see. Where was I? Reduce the distance to the opponent on block. Ooh, this might be a nerf. All right, let's see. Oh, wow. So at least it's still minus 13. It's not launch punishable. Unless, you know, the only way it can be launch punishable is if Kazuya times like the electric perfectly, but that's ridiculously hard to do. Or if Mishima times the electric perfectly. But for the most part, it's not launch punishable. Just like, you know, opponent can land like 12 or 13 frame punish. Yeah. So reduce the distance, that means your opponent, you know, it's easier to punish, but again, it's a nerf, but not that big of a nerf. Alright, let's move on. What haven't we covered yet? Oh, we're almost done here. While rising. Here it is. Reduce the opponent's recovery time on hit by 3 frames. Okay, just in the frame advantage on hitting. Hold on. Oh, I see. So this did get nerfed. Actually, this I can see why they nerfed it. You see, here in the old days, if my opponent blocked it, I could get, if I timed the DSS right, I could get a 7-frame advantage, but now it's only a +4 advantage. And I gotta say that I think this was definitely a necessary nerf, because if you notice, this startup was only 11-frame startup, and that's really fast. If you force your opponent to block on 11-frame startup and then get a 7-frame advantage, even with the timing of the DSS, that was, like, unfair. Not to mention the fact that, you see, in Tekken 7, I guess you could get away with that, because I think it was, like, +7, maybe even +11. I need to take a look at the notes again. But remember, in Tekken 7, the DSS was ridiculously hard to do. It was, like, harder, I would venture to say, as someone who plays Kazuya and someone who plays Law, I would actually say that in Tekken 7, not Tekken 8, in Tekken 7, the DSS, the timing, you know, having to hit having to hit back, forward, forward at the right time was actually harder to do. Not a lot, but harder to do than electric. And again, I play as both Kazuya and Law. So in Tekken 7, the DSS was much harder to execute. So I would say, considering how hard it was, I could understand why it would be a +7 or +11 on block. So that was like perfectly understandable. But in Tekken 8, you know, it was like, you know, the DSS is a lot easier to do. You just have to like mash forward after landing on 11 frame startup. That is, you know, that was way too much to ask for, I think. And not to mention, if it's on hit, look how much, you know, obviously, hold on. See, like, +12 on hit. Let me check to see if they nerfed it on hit. Just hold on, please. But, like, let's see, even 12 frames, like, it used to be +15 on hit. I believe it was +18 on hit in Tekken 7, then they nerfed it to plus, okay, I think I figured it out. So let me finish explanation and then explain the history. Give a little small history lesson on laws that while rising for DSS frame data. So my point is that this, you see, Wall Rising 4. If all you have to do is mash forward. You see, it's still, I think, it's on hit, it's 12 frame advantage. That's insane. That is absolutely insane. So, and it used to be 15 frame advantage if it was on hit. And again, this is just an 11 frame startup. That's insane. And I'm a Law player, and I'm saying this. See, and even on block, you see, on block, it's manageable now. Like +4, yeah, that's definitely reasonable. But it used to be +7, +7. I guess if you time it perfectly, I got it like +5. Unless it's been super good timing. I'm not sure what's going on. Maybe a glitch. I'm not sure. But anyways, point is that I'm actually glad that they nerfed this, because again, Wall Rising 4. And you just mash forward, and you get an advantage. That's all you have to do. And as I said, on hits, look, 12, even now, 12 frames. It used to be 15 frames by just hitting your opponent, and then mash forward, and then you get an advantage, and then you can do the DSS, mess with your opponent's mind, and go into DSS, or cancel, or you know, go into DSS, not do anything, and really play mind games with your opponent off of an 11 frame startup. So now that I'm done explaining that, I'll give the history lesson. Now that I think about it, I recall correctly, I'm like 99% sure that this was the case. So here on block in the Tekken 7 days, you could actually get, if you had to time the DSS perfectly, but you could actually get an 11 frame advantage off of Wall Rising 4. This used to be 11 frames in Tekken 7. But again, at the same time, the DSS was extremely hard to get right. It was only 11 frames if you timed the DSS perfectly right. Mashing forward would not work. Mashing forward wouldn't work. You would actually have to get the timing done at, you know, perfectly. And again, this was harder to do than the electric. So it was ridiculously hard. So I could let that go. If it was on hits, I'm going to change it hit. On hits, it used to be 18 frame advantage. 18 frame advantage! And even with the perfect timing, and not to mention the fact that this particular move, like the bicycle kick, like, let me take a look at the formal. I always call it bicycle kick. Let me take a look at the formal term. But that particular move could actually lead to a combo. Because that's one of the ways Law got nerfed even in, you know, day one. Wild Dragonfly might have had a different term in Tekken 7, but you get the idea. This used to lead to a combo. So in Tekken 7, in Season 1, one of the ways Law got nerfed, and it was definitely a well-deserved nerf, you could get this. So if you got a hit, right? Wall Rising 4 hit, go to time DSS perfectly. If you get 18 frame advantage, you would get a free combo if you timed it right. And again, this was in Tekken 7 during the arcade days, you know, 2015, all the way to 2018, right before like Season 2 launch. Season 2 nerfed this. You couldn't get, even if you timed it perfectly, got 18 frame advantage. They made Law like impossible to land this move, even if you were at 18 frames advantage. And that was a well-deserved nerf. Because even if you got the timing perfectly all the time, that was still way too much to ask for. Come on. 11 frame startup. An 11 frame startup. And you can potentially get a actual combo off of that. Even no matter how hard that is, that's still way too much to ask for. Not to mention the fact if your opponent was near a wall, you could like potentially take like half your opponent's life away. Because remember, this particular, oh, not this move. This move, oh, not this move. This move was more powerful too. So if you timed it perfectly, you could take up so much of your opponent's life away just like that. And again, this was advanced stuff, but still way too much to ask for. So then fast forward to Tekken 8, where let's go back to opponent blocking. So go to Tekken 8 and plus, see, this used to be +7 on block. This was too OP because again, DSS was no longer didn't require that timing anymore. It was, you just had to mash to get the advantage, mash buttons to get the advantage. And you could get, again, 7 frame advantage right there. That I thought was too much to ask for, honestly, for an 11 frame start. And then on hits, and I already said this, what was ridiculous is on hit, you get 15 frame startup. So you get like a huge, like, you would get a huge, like, advantage there. It was insane. So, again, it's still insane, I think, you know, 12 frame startup, you get the DSS right by mashing. Look, I'm just mashing forward. That's all I'm doing, mashing forward. I might have said mashing right before, but I meant on player one side, so my mistake for the poor choice of words there. But again, mashing forward, that's all I have to do. And again, 12 frames, I guess, is better, but still, like, and I'm a law player saying this, it's still a little too OP. Just a little too OP at this point. Maybe more than a little, again, that's up for debate. But point is that I'm glad that they, you know, my overall point is that I'm glad that they nerfed law like this. Because, again, you know, an 11 frame move on block should, you know, only lead, and if you do DSS, should only lead to like +4 frame advantage. It should definitely not be like +7, especially like not like +11. That would have been absolutely ridiculous if they actually still made this +11 where you could only need to mash the DSS. So I'm glad the developers didn't make that mistake at Tekken 8 launch. Point is that I'm glad this is nerfed. So good job to the developers for that. That's a very, very good job. And, you know, still good job to the developers for, you know, nerfing that as well. All right, let's move on here. Hold on. All right, let's see what else we need to cover. I think one particular move, this isn't really that much of an explanation. Oh yeah, this move got nerfed. Let's see. This used to be, it's now just 18 damage. Let's see how much, this used to be like 20 points of damage. Oh, that's weird. On my, the notes say that it was 17 points of damage, but on my end it says 18 points. Oh wait, that's right, I'm in rage. What am I saying? Silly me. But again, if I didn't have rage activated, it would probably be 17 points of damage. So the point is that this definitely got nerfed. This used to give more damage and not anymore. So I guess that was okay, because by the end of the day, if you time it right, oops. You can still, like, if you time it right, you can still get the non-check follow-up. So I don't know if this is 100% necessary, but I could definitely see where the developers were coming from. I mean, you know, I guess overall, just considering the fact that you can get some extra damage here like this, I would say that that's a reasonable explanation of why they would nerf this. So, you know, the reason why I say it may not have been 100% necessary is because if the opponent blocked it, you could actually get a combo off of that. You could actually get a good. You could actually, in fact, let me show you what can happen if it's blocked. I'll show you. Let me show you now. See, you could get an actual combo off of that. So that's why I said it may not have been 100% necessary, because again, it was a risky move, and if you blocked it, you could like get a combo off of that. Now again, like by the end, but at the same time though, like I could see where they're coming from, because again, you could land some mix-ups though. If you did this, you could land some nasty mix-ups. So, and plus the nerfing wasn't really that serious either. So as I said, it's a reasonable nerf. I can see where the developers are coming from. Like I would say overall it was maybe 80% necessary, not 100% necessary, if that makes sense. So let's move on. Let's see how else laws changed. Alright, so hearing Dragon Charge. Yes, this was a nerf. Yeah, this was a reasonable nerf, because this was completely trackable. It could be ducked, but again, some people would like sidestep, and you can catch your opponent sidestepping. So, and not to mention, you can get a follow up with a nunchuck there too. You get like a guaranteed follow up right there. You're fast enough. So, I can understand why they nerfed that. And let's see, I believe it was safe. It was definitely punishable if it was ducked, but I believe it was safe on block. Oh wait, you could even get a frame advantage if it was on block. So yeah, I definitely get why they. I think this was definitely a necessary nerf, just because of the fact that it was a frame advantage on block. You get a frame advantage. So yeah, and if nunchuck follow up, yeah, definitely understand why they did that. Let's see, what else? Change the behavior. So they apparently changed the behavior of the opponent here. So I remember in season 1, you could get I'm gonna have to switch a counter hit again. What was it? There it is. There you are. So, you know, maybe you may not have a guaranteed, yeah, it gives you, I think, I might be wrong, but I believe it gives, hold on. Yeah, it's a nerf, because it changes your opponent's behavior, so your opponent now has extra time to recover, so you can't get this, you can't get the guaranteed follow-up anymore. I don't think you can. Let me test it out here. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. Oops. Let me set up counter hit on my opponent's end. Alright, there we go, it's all set. Alright, so, sorry, the controller got disconnected. Anyways, so... let me show this again. See, this is still, like, 13, so I can still land a punish. It's not a launch punish, but I can still land a punish. That's still 13 on block. Let's see what happens. Oh, hold on. Oh, wait. Yeah, see. Interesting. So I guess I can still like get damage. It's not, I believe it's just not guaranteed anymore. Again, I don't know if this was like 100% necessary, but it is what it is. I would say I'm 50-50 there. It's just kind of like, I'm like, really? You know, did it really have to be like that? But, because again, it was a punishable move, and not to mention you could low parry that. Not to mention the fact it could be sidestep as you saw. So don't know if that was necessary to nerf that, but it is what it is. I'm not upset. Adjusted the collision detection with the opponent to mitigate. Oh wait, these are all like neutral changes. Okay, so this apparently like has a bigger hitbox. That's like a short description. Again, this is a neutral change, so not a buff nor neither buff nor a nerf. Let's see, adjusted with. So this move adjusted the collision detection with the Super Punch. Adjusted the collision detection with the opponent to mitigate situations where the move would whiff under certain conditions. Okay. Apparently they were just fixing bugs here. Why is counter hit still on? Let me get rid of that. So I think I've pretty much covered all of the changes. I think I'll cover some of Law's new moves. Again, I'm not super familiar with that, so I'm just going to test it out. Let's see. Oh, wait a second. Hold on. Interesting. So this particular move. This is a buff. I don't know why the developer said this is neutral, because in Season 1, you see, this wouldn't cause a wall splat. In fact, in Tekken 7, this particular move, if you caught your opponent at the wall, it wouldn't be... You can get some good damage off of it, just a throw now if you're at the wall. I don't know why they said that this was a nerf for Law, because this is a huge buff. In season 1 of Tekken 8, you couldn't get the wall combo by doing this. Your opponent would just like land on the ground. So I don't know why they said that was a neutral change. That's a definite buff. Okay, so this is just like faster jumping. I don't think I need to cover this. Anyway, let's test the new moves. I know I kind of tested it before, but I was just testing combos, so I'm still not familiar with it. So in this particular move, so you see, this is. Let me put the opponent on block. See, this move, I'm like -1. I guess I could set up this combo, but if my opponent's not familiar. But again, this can be ducked and launched. It's a high. So this move alone, when you use move raw, meaning move used alone, not really useful, honestly. See what happens if I land it on counter, though. I'll have counter split, counter hit set up. Whoops. Okay, so I guess on counter I could get a little bit more damage. But again, it's a 19-frame startup. And I guess it is safe, though, because it's only -1, so it's pretty useful for the most part. And if you get a counter hit. But again, it's 19-frame startup, so it's hard to get a counter hit. You know, it's obviously a simple 15-frame launch is going to tech that, and then you get caught in the air, and your opponent gets a good combo. So, let's see. Let me deactivate counter hit to see what happens. Yeah, it just puts me on a frame advantage, so it doesn't even knock my opponent down. Oh, it does wall splat, though, so that's cool. Even without counter hit, it does wall splat. So I guess that is that can be used. But again, I just don't know if this move was 100% necessary to use, raw, considering the fact you have many other lost moves that can be useful, like this one. It's 20, it's 20 frames, but remember, you can, your opponent blocking, it's a 3-frame advantage. It's the hammer move. See? But I guess, you know what? I guess one of the ways this can be useful, I might have spoken too fast. I wonder, this is a tracking move, though, isn't it? If you catch your opponent who's sidestepping all the time, this can definitely get your opponent, especially if your opponent does a sidestep. You know what? I spoke too fast here. Let me test this out. Oh, wait a second. Oh wait, no, it's not trackable. Oh no, what was I saying? Yeah, this is use. So yeah, sidestepping. I spoke too fast, so twice. So yeah. So again, I don't know. I just don't know what the point of this is, because you might as well just use the Dragon Hammer. And it's a mid. It's not a high. It's a mid, and you get a frame advantage. I mean, you get. I already showed you got like +3 on block. I mean this. I mean, not to mention the fact that if it's on counter, you can get an actual combo. Like, I'm going to activate counter. You know, let me remind you what you can get. See, your Dragon Hammer is just like a 1-frame difference, and you can get so many more advantages using that. So, I guess that particular move is probably, the new move is probably better used for a combo, which I'll try in a little bit. I'm not going to, like, spend, like, this whole time, like, just trying to master a combo. It's probably going to take time to get used to it. See, the point is you can get like a good combo off of a counter. And again, that's just like one out of like, you know, other moves you can use. So, and then the other like particular move was this move. This is a 13-frame startup. So this is 13-frame startup. And again, it does wall splat, so that's cool. So I guess this is a 13-frame punish. Wait a second, I have an idea. Is this actually punishable now by 13 frames? Okay, that's 13-frame punishable. Alright, let's see. Oops. Come on. Wow, that is punishable. Okay, that is like a guaranteed punish right there. Alright. That's a cool buff. That's nice. Law didn't have any 13-frame punishes. Now he does. Attack in 7 days. Yeah. So let's see what the difference is. That's 37 points of damage. Wait, I should probably deactivate. Do I need to deactivate Rage? So, alright, fine. Let's see without the Rage. That's 34 points of damage. That's 22 for the 10th frame, and then for 12th frame, yeah, 33, only 33, so... But again, it's still a little bit risky, because I don't know if it jails, by the way, for those of you who don't know what jail means if you block on a particular attack, you're forced to block the other attacks. That means if there's a mid attack that's going to you, you can't duck the high attack if you already like block the mid. That's called jailing. So let's see if this particular move jails. No, it does not jail. So that is risky. That is still a risky move to do a raw, because this is what can happen. Your opponent can duck it and launch it. So I think it's a good balance. I like the fact that it gives Law like a 13 frame, so now you can get more damage. You see, this actually did buff Law a bit, because you can still you can still get yeah, you can still what was I about to say? Oh yeah, you can still get more damage now overall off of a hop kick, because most hop kicks are minus 13, as you saw. And the fact that you can now get more damage, like you can get 34 points of damage, and not to mention the frame advantage. You see, this is more powerful than this, because your opponent then has time to, you know, recover. But here, you see here, if you do this, if you punch a hop kick, this is a huge buff for Law. Shout out to the developers. Thank you, developers. This is a huge buff for Law. Now you can punish a hop kick. You can punish a hop kick and still, like, have a... You can still have, a frame advantage here, too. So it makes opponents think twice before recklessly using hop kicks. And, of course, it wall splat, so that's really cool. That's nice. You know, it might have been a little bit too OP. Again, I need to test it on rank match to see how OP it would be. But if I recall correctly, though, there were like certain characters that could use like a 12 frame or like even like, you know, 10 frames to still like get the frame advantage. In fact, let's switch to In fact, let's do the analogy here. This is the last move, by the way, I believe. So there's nothing really more to cover this. I think for combos, I'll probably save that for another video. And either I'll show a demonstration video or maybe just use it in ranked matches, demonstrate in ranked matches. Again, it's going to take time to get used to doing the combos. In fact, like let me show you right here. You see what I mean? Like I'm not going to spend this whole time like practicing that. I'll do that off screen. Let's see. All right, let's switch to Jin here. So remember, 10 frame. Remember, 22 points of damage for 10 frame. But let's switch to. Why don't even switch to? Yeah, we'll switch to Jin.
Get ready for the next battle.
See, 10 frames, and look, 29 points of damage. And remember, this is just 10 frames. Insane. All right. And your opponent's a little bit distanced, but again, for 10 frames, that's insane. That is really insane. Let's switch to Kazuya here. I know Kazuya has like this huge advantage. I think Kazuya like is a little, you know, he doesn't really have a launch punish unless you electric. But let's see. Look, 25 points of damage. Let's switch to Paul. There's Paul. There's Paul.
Get ready for the next battle.
Oh, that's 12 frame. Oh, that's the way Paul got there, I believe. Oh, you gotta take a look at that. All right, I guess that analyzing can happen off screen, but my point is that. So, I think overall, like, so far, like, just based on Law alone, overall, in the long run, I'm happy, like, with how Law has changed. He has gotten some noticeable nerfs, and there are a few head scratches there, but it's nothing worth getting angry about. And he did get some good buffs. I like that 13 frame buff he got, because you have to remember, this is, you know, it's not like he can launch you. You can like, he can punish it and put you at a frame he can put you at a frame disadvantage. But remember, like Tekken, in my opinion, like, you know, Tekken 7, I like defensive gameplay. So I like the fact that this actually encourages defensive gameplay. It actually makes people think twice before spamming the hop kick. Because remember, the hop kick, if you land it successfully, you do get a free combo. You get like an actual combo, and you can get a lot of damage, especially if there are walls there. So the fact that Law now has that, you know, 13 frame punish, it makes opponents think twice. It actually encourages opponents to play more defensively, and, you know, and that which is good. I like the fact that encourages me as a Law player to play more defensively, to watch out for hop kicks and then land, you know, a nasty punish. So that's really cool. That's really good. And of course, it's not like I can launch kicks. If that, like, I would say that would definitely be OP. If, let's say, I could launch that, you know, hop kick, if I could block that hop kick and launch it, yeah, that would be way too OP. But that's not the case. All it does is that I can get a little bit more damage. And again, it's not that much more damage, but it is a noticeable amount of damage. And still put the opponent at a frame, you know, disadvantage, which is good. And it's not like the opponent's -9, so if the opponent just like plays defensively, backs up, then the opponent can reset. So it's not really that serious. So I think that's overall. That's pretty much that'll conclude me analyzing Law. You know, Tekken 8 Season 2 Law. I'll probably be playing ranked matches next time. I may or may not do a combo video with Law. If anything, I'm thinking I might just like show new combos in ranked matches. But I think I analyzed pretty much all the changes of Lost Tekken 8 Season 2. And again, this is just my opinion. Let me know if you agree or disagree, or, you know, if you want to, you know, feel free to do that. I always respect what other people think. But right now with Law in particular, Law Tekken 8 Season 2 you know, I'm happy overall. I think it was really cool changes, some needed changes, and again, even the few head scratches they have, you know, it's, you know, definitely not worth getting angry over. So that concludes my video, and thank you for your support, and I'll see you all next time, and you all have a good one. Bye!